Hi guys, welcome to the channel. My name is Kubeir. I'm a CICC licensed immigration consultant and I just love Canadian immigration for its nuances, for being consistent with its amazingly, incredibly consistent changes, right? Updates every day, something or the other is always happening. Somehow it keeps you in the hunt, it keeps you hopeful, it keeps you uh, guessing at the same point of time, and at the same and sometimes of course it completely baffles you as to what exactly is going on with this whole process. Today, the main subject for today, though it is not a secret, this is not something which you have realized today, that the PNP targets or the PNP quotas have been slashed by 50%. This you have known since October, end of October, when the immigration levels plans were announced, and we did a detailed video on that. In the immigration levels plan for 2025, it was very clear that the biggest impact of the reduced immigration targets of about 100,000 people, majority of it is coming from the PNPs. Of course, there are some family class and then some other categories as well, but the majority of the cut actually came from PNPs. Just very quickly taking a look at how the immigration levels plan looked like. So this was the 2024 to 2026 immigration levels plan, where we had this incredible target for 2025 for 500,000 people, and 2026 was also going to be 500,000 people. And if I just scroll down to the PNPs, right, the provincial nominee programs, for 2024, the target was 110,000, which helped a lot of provinces invite a lot of people. For this year, for 2025, it was anticipated to be 120,000 people. Now, when I'm saying provincial nominee program, guys, it includes all kinds of provincial nominee programs: express entry, non-express entry related streams, entrepreneur streams, student streams, everything that comes under a PNP, all of that was included here. 120,000 was the target for the year 2025, right? This was as per the immigration levels plan. And then Mr. Mark Miller, then when he announced late October the new immigration levels plan for 2025, with a reduction of about 110,000 people, I think 105,000 people, the biggest hit actually was taken by the provincial nominee program. So the earlier number of 120,000, which was here, has now been reduced to 55,000, which is here. And it stays consistent, 55,000, 55,000, 55,000 until 2027. So this we have already known, right? This, we knew this is happening, but we were so excited about this in Canada focus, 82,980, which actually had gone up. So the total number of the economic programs or under the federal high skilled, 82,980 and 41,700, bringing the total to 120,000, 124,000, roughly 124,000. That is the federal high skilled number for 2025. Whereas last year it was 110,000 and it was supposed to be only 117,500. So basically the number went up by 7,000. So we were all happy and excited about that number in express entry under the federal high skill going up, to the tune that we somehow forgot all about our dear old PNPs, which is now going to be sitting at 55,000. So why are we talking about it suddenly, right? I mean, we are only in the month of January. It's just the beginning of the year. Why is suddenly this topic a subject? Well, now in the month of January is when IRCC or the federal government starts announcing or starts informing the provinces of their annual quota, so that the provinces can then prepare, plan, and strategize and work around these assigned quotas. Just like everything in life, this is not limitless. It's not like they can invite any number of people. So you know that there is a 55,000 quota. Now, for each province, depending on their demographics, depending on their population, they are assigned immigration targets, immigration quotas. So this is the federal government assigning. And of course, the agreement between the federal government and the provincial government is such that the federal government gives them the allotment that is assigned under obviously the immigration levels plan for the whole year. And then the province has the authority, if you want to call it, or the choice as to who they select for those given number of allotments. And that is what is referred to as the provincial nominee program or the PNP programs. Now, once the province identifies a person, selects the person, then that person is given a nomination certificate. With using that nomination certificate, depending on what kind of stream, whether it's express entry stream or non-express entry stream. So express entry stream would give you 600 points. You can come back into express entry stream. You can apply for your permanent residence through express entry. The non-express entry guys, you will have a nomination certificate. You will have 6 months to make your application through the non-express entry route. The authority to choose and select was with the province, but the final authority to approve the application for permanent residence depends on, or rather lies with IRCC or lies with the federal government. That's how this game is played. The only difference is with Quebec. Quebec, if they choose a person, if they give you the CSQ, the selection certificate, then IRCC does not have the authority to refuse that person unless there is an issue with the inadmissibilities. And that's the only difference between the Quebec as a province and all the other provinces. And of course, all the provinces have been asking for more authority, for more, they wanted have better control on their own selections. As of right now, that still hangs. But again, coming back to today's video about, or rather today's live stream, the main topic about the PNP quotas. January, they start announcing the PNP quota so that the provinces can start preparing. I know most of you are hanging by the thread, waiting for the announcements from Ontario, Alberta, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, BC. These are your most favorite provinces, but the first ones to have come out and made it out in the open and have, said that they are very upset with the federal government for slashing their quotas in half. I mean, like, didn't they already know in October when the announcements were made that this is going to be slashed? So why? Because the latest one was the premier of Newfoundland and Labrador saying they were gobsmacked. Why are you gobsmacked? You have known this since October. So now suddenly in January, when it hits you, you're gobsmacked. Why should you be gobsmacked? Anyways, so they are now upset about it. Similarly, you can start expecting other provinces also expressing their irritation, their annoyance, their frustration, their anger with this whole immigration levels plan. I think Alberta had already made it clear earlier that they wanted more people, more immigrants to be coming through their province, and they were not very happy when the targets were reduced. And obviously, when these numbers will be assigned to them, then you will see a bigger reduction. We will talk more about this when we get to that specific slide, but this is the main subject for today's video. As we will move on, we'll do a bit of express entry because we love that subject anyways, not too much because nothing much happened this particular week. But then there are some other things that are happening. Spouse open work permit changes looming around the corner. Monday is your deadline if you are going to be making those applications. And if you are one of those who is going to be impacted or is impacted, stick around. We're going to talk more about that as well. There is a cap, or rather the new announced cap on the international students. So, I mean, not that this is news. Of course, last year itself, Mark Miller had announced that now the number of applications that they will be accepting for study permits are capped. For last year, it was 606,250. That was the number of applications that will be accepted, not approved, accepted. And then 485,000 approximately, that was the number, if I can't remember on top of my head, but that was the number that they will actually approve, considering that 60% of the applications are approved of the total, so 40% are refused. And then there are obviously inside Canada extensions as well. But for this year, the new number has come is roughly 550,000 people. 550,000 applications. So that's the cap for this year that has been announced by the Canadian Gazette. So we'll talk about that as well. And lots of other things. So instead of just giving you the introduction, may as well hop onto it, right? This is the Canadian Immigration Weekly Roundup. If you're here, smash that like button, of course. I mean, even if you haven't liked it yet, of course, you're going to like it. That's the reason you're here. But also do subscribe. We are approaching the big coveted 100,000 mark. We would like to get there as soon as possible, so we can also display our YouTube silver button. Very excited. But yes, do subscribe, not for the silver button, but do subscribe because this channel does give you that credible, updated information and insights. We actually are the only channel that deep dives into everything to do with Canadian immigration. There are plenty of dancing channels. When I'm saying dancing channels, I mean people who dance around the trees and Costco's and Dollaramas and gives you all of that kind of a thing. With us, we just deep right into the subject. We'll give you more information as to how those things happen. So yes, it's absolutely in your best interest to subscribe to the channel. I can't think of having made a better case for the subscription ever before. Right, this is the topics of discussion today, the PNP and the updates, other news. We don't have express entry, apologies. And then we will go on to the question and answers. And until we get there, please hold back with your question and answer so that when we get to it, then we get to it, right? Okay, starting with the PNP draws. Ontario finally, as we say it in Hindi, boni kari Ontario ne, but Ontario launched their program for 2025 by issuing 4 invitations. Yay! 4 invitations. This was under the employer job offer foreign worker stream, but this is for the economic mobility pathways project. This is basically people who have claimed refugee status or who are in Canada with some status which is not under the economic pathways. Only those people, if they have created their expressions of interest, but they have a job offer, those are the 4 invitations sent out 15th of January. But then there are no other draws which happened this week. So that was pretty surprising because everybody kept quite they laid low. But then we have the PNP quotas, right? That's what we're talking about. So PNP quotas are slashed by 50%, actually more than 50% for 2025. If you see these numbers, and they've just tried to help you understand it better, putting them side by side, 2025, you have 55,000. 2024, it was supposed to be 120,000. So actually, it's slashed by more than 50% already. And as I was saying, the premier of, sorry, it's not the premier, it's the immigration minister of Newfoundland and Labrador who was gobsmacked with this reduction of the quotas. But how are the quotas so far that we know of the provinces that have announced? So Newfoundland and Labrador, the quotas were reduced from 3,050 to only 1,525. That is the number that has been reduced. Out of this 1,525, so this is not the entire PNP quota. With the Atlantic provinces, they also have quotas for the AIP, Atlantic Immigration Program. So individually, all of the provinces are then assigned individual AIP quotas as well. And therefore, this 1,525 includes the AIP quota. So you can see how this is drastically reduced. Now, under the new rules for 2025, IRCC has insisted that all the provinces should select 75% of the nominations from inside Canada, and they are reserved for temporary foreign workers who are already in the provinces, allowing them to become permanent residents. Good move, because even I would agree that there is no need for Canada or the provinces to go out and seek people when there are about 3 million people in Canada who are desperate to find pathways. So if the provinces are going to realign their programs and identify only people from inside the province or inside Canada who are temporary foreign workers who are available, I mean, I don't think they had to say this, because the way I look at it and the way things are happening right now, there are tons and tons and tons of people already in each province who are eagerly waiting for the PNP programs to start again so that they can get a chance in there. And then you have the Northwest Territories who have also announced that the target was cut in half from 300 reduced to 150. Now, what does this tell you? This tells you that this is going to happen with all the provinces, because obviously they can't be choosing some and leaving the others aside. And when it happens with all the provinces, you all realize that the bigger ones that are going to be impacted are going to be Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, British Columbia, and yours favorite, all of your favorite, Ontario. Why Ontario being the favorite? Because Ontario last year in 2024 had the largest quota. They had the lion's share of the targets. About 21,500 was their nomination target. I do not know what exactly is going to be their number this year, but I'm going to assume it's going to be in the range of 9,000 to 10,000 nomination slots for this year. Similarly, for all the other provinces who had roughly 9,700 as their targets, so Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Alberta, BC, they all had in the range of 9,500 to 9,700 kind of targets. they will all be slashed into half or somewhere around there. And therefore, you're going to see a reduced number, 4,500-ish for most of these provinces. Ontario, and of course, at about 10,000, give or take. I do not know what the exact number is going to be, but around that number. It's going to be within that range of that number. What this does for everybody out there is it's going to make the PNP programs even more difficult. Now, if you guys were hanging by the thread, thinking the PNPs are going to open and that is what's going to make your life easy, well, this you should have already known by now, since this announcements were made in October, that this is going to be cut into half. And if this is going to happen, means, so the direct impact, right? First of all, they're going to probably conduct fewer draws for different streams. So for example, if they conducted, let's say, human capital priorities in Ontario, let's say, for example, conducted like 5 draws throughout the year, that's going to reduce to 2 or 3. If they conducted 3 draws for skilled trade stream throughout the year, it's going to reduce. Alternatively, like British Columbia was conducting a draw almost every week, they probably are going to hold back as well. Or if they do not, or if they still continue with the draws with the same frequency, the number of invitations for each draw will reduce. And you all know what happens when the number of invitations are reduced, then automatically the scores go up. And when the scores go up, then everybody loses out, because with high score, only very few people get through. So first, all those people who are creating their expressions of interest, please only create them if and when you're eligible. As far as Ontario is concerned, the biggest problem with Ontario is in the sense of this expression of interest system. The system allows you to create your expression of interest regardless of how you're putting your information. And only after receiving an ITA do you then go out and get your documentation. The biggest problem for most provinces is to get the employer form, employer support, NSNP 200 in Nova Scotia, employer approval, job approval letter in Saskatchewan, authorization form in Alberta, employer form in Ontario. So before you even create your expression of interest, first check with your employer if they will give you this document. Because if they're not going to give you this document or they're not going to support you, there's no point of making that expression of interest. By creating that expression of interest, even without the support of your employer, you're actually taking away somebody else's chance who actually might have a chance, who might have a support, who might have this as their only pathway. So please, as a request to everybody out there, if you're creating your expressions of interest, whether it's Alberta or Ontario, just don't do it for the heck of it. Don't do it for the sake of it. Just doing one. Know it that you are eligible. Number one, that is very important. And also be aware of whether your employer is going to support you or not. Because if your employer is not supporting you, I mean, it really is not going to help you, and it definitely doesn't help the next person either. Other than that, while we are on the subject of PNPs, there is another thing that I would like to address with everybody out there. A lot of you are already in the pipeline. For example, in Ontario, you guys are already in your assessment stage or in your DIP, decision in progress stage. Nova Scotia, you already have submitted your application, you're awaiting a response. Saskatchewan, you have submitted an application, you don't know which black hole that application is in and what's happening, you're awaiting a response. British Columbia, same thing. Manitoba, oh my God, you can't even imagine. You can't even get me started on Manitoba as to the amount of time that they take to process the application. Understand and know that they are all impacted by these quotas. Okay, so last year's quotas, all of the provinces have already achieved. And if they've already achieved, they will be dipping into the quotas from 2025 when they start giving out the nominations. And when they start giving out the nominations in 2025, it basically means that they're taking away from the quotas of 2025. So that will also directly impact on your draws for 2025, because it's all going to reduce from all directions. Therefore, please strategize in a better manner. Please understand the options that you have and do that in a better manner, because there is that small silver lining anyways. For example, Alberta, Bonnieville, that's one of their communities, also part of the rural community in Alberta. They came back and they came out and they announced several job openings on their website. So if you're in Alberta, if you're looking for the rural renewal stream, by all means, please go and apply for a job in Bonnieville, because they have advertised. Similarly, New Brunswick is conducting some recruitment activities, recruitment events. It's available on their website. They're doing some virtual trades, and then they're doing in Dubai and in Qatar. They're doing some healthcare recruitment as well. Take a look at that. There are a couple of programs which are supposed to be launched this year. RCIC, Rural Community Immigration class, or Rural Community Immigration Program, and similarly Francophone Community Immigration class or Francophone Community Immigration Pilot, whatever you want to call it, because these acronyms sometimes just get the better of you. These are still to be launched. And if you are one of those people who are waiting for these RCICs or RCIP to be launched, don't wait. Don't think, okay, once these programs are launched, then I will go to that community. You should already be there. You should already be working for an employer. You should have already secured the spot with the employer. You should have already discussed it with your employer and have that employer on board with you to be able to take advantage of these programs when they are launched. So please, be ready with that. So these are the few programs that are still to be launched this year. There's another one. I know that nanny program, a lot of you are asking. We're going to talk about that because that is, we're going to talk about that. But these are the other programs that are still in the works. Express entry will continue. Category draws will continue. And if you still have availability of your work permit in Canada, then work experience of only 6 months, that's all you need. 6 months of work experience, all you need to get yourself in and eligible under the healthcare and under the trades category. Now, I know there are trades category, only 10 occupations there, but still you might be able to fit into one of them. Healthcare, on the other hand, has plenty of them. I think about 24 or 34, I think. And there are some of them over there where you don't need any education related to healthcare. You just need to identify the correct NOC code. You just need to identify the correct occupation. Go ahead and gain work experience, gain on-job training, gain training, do a short course if you have to, and then you can get that work experience in, and hopefully you should be able to get yourself into that category as well. On that note, since I was not going to talk much about express entry, but since express entry is our favorite subject, for people who are waiting for the healthcare draws and the trade draws, I know the previous draws in healthcare was 463, in trades was 437. Don't expect the scores to go down or remain low. What you're not realizing and you're not understanding is that just the way I'm telling you right now, gain 6 months of work experience, people are already smart. You guys already know this is what you need to do. People have been doing it. People have been doing it in Canada. People have been doing it outside Canada. Everybody is waiting for these draws. And when they will happen, you have to understand that there are lots and lots and lots of people who are already in the pool or entering the pool or will be entering the pool with scores, rather high scores. I mean, IT, STEM candidates are already now switching and gaining work experience in healthcare and trade. You can imagine if their scores are already in the 480s, 490s, and they're also all now taking this advantage of this. So because, if this is the pathway, then this is the pathway. Let's get on with it, right? Like you got to adapt and you got to adopt. So a lot of people are already doing it. Don't expect the scores to go down. Don't expect the scores to dip. Yes, there might be a couple of points difference here and there, depending on how many invitations, depending on the frequency. But don't expect the scores to go down to 300s kind of a thing. Don't expect the scores to go down to 400s, very low 400s for healthcare. Not going to happen. It's already happened in the past. Unlikely to repeat again, depending or rather given the circumstances. So please take care of that as well. From your side, if you can improve your scores, do it. I know you guys are also eagerly waiting for the LMIA points to be removed, and that will have a big impact. And that will have a big impact, not only in the high 500s. I know a lot of you are thinking the scores above 500, those will get wiped out. No, they are not going to get wiped out. Don't fool yourself into believing that. Yes, the pool might thin out by 25%, 30%, maybe around that much. But then there are tons and tons and tons of people who are completing their masters, who have bachelor's plus 1 or 2 years diploma, who have good English language scores, who have 3 years of work experience outside, 1 or 2 years of work experience in Canada. They're all candidates for 500 plus. So don't fool yourself into believing that once the LMIA is gone, 500 will get cleared out, scores will go to 480, 490. No, not going to happen unless IRCC is very, very consistent with high draw sizes. Okay, so from your side, please improve your scores. But when these LMIA points go, immediately after that, the biggest difference will also happen in the category draws, because a lot of these people who are sitting with the category draw scores and sitting on that level of 470s, 460s, 480s are also those individuals who have gotten LMIA and who have now pushed themselves from 420s, 430s up to 470s, 480s. So it's not only the 500 pluses, it's also the up 400, 450 upwards who are all waiting for the category draws, who have taken advantage of the LMIA. So you're going to see a thin out overall across the board. So immediately after the LMIA points going away, which is expected in spring, I don't know when in spring, March, April, May, June, 3 months of big gap there. But whenever it does happen, you will see the thinning out of scores across the board. And immediately after that, whenever the draws happen, immediately, the category draws should be better. So you have to take advantage of that now itself. Get yourself into the category draws if you do not find any other option. Back with our roundup. Yes, this is the favorite program that a lot of you have been asking about, the Enhanced Caregiver Pilot Program. Now, this also referred to as the nanny program. And in my opinion, this is one, actually, I would want to say, is it the most or is it one of the most? Okay, let's go with one of the most. It's one of the most abused program. It is sold in India, in the Middle East, and some other countries as well, as the way to bring your relatives to Canada. You can go on Instagram, on TikTok. TikTok is still live, I think. Yes, of course. And you can go and you can see there. It's all over. These agents who are selling this program for lakhs and lakhs of rupees. There are nanny institutes across Punjab and across Gujarat and across certain other provinces, states in India as well. There are nanny institutes also in I think I've seen one in Nepal. I've seen a few of them in Pakistan and Bangladesh as well. I've seen the advertisements, and they're all targeting this particular program. Now, this particular program, as it has been happening in the past, is if you were eligible, then you would first come to Canada on a work permit. It was semi-open. Semi-open means the occupation was restricted, but you could work for different employers. So you had a semi-open work permit. You could complete 1 to 2 years of work experience, depending on when you applied, because that kept changing. And then you could then apply for a PR. June 3rd, 2024, Mark Miller came out and announced that they are going to enhance the caregiver pilot program. So this was called the Enhanced Caregiver Pilot Program. And in this, they said that you will get PR on arrival. There will be no requirement for work permit. There will be no requirement for you to gain any work experience in Canada. You land in Canada if you're eligible and you applied through this, you land in Canada as a PR. The requirement for this, look at how easy it is to get through with this program. It says the only thing you need is CLB4, like really CLB4, and you're a caregiver in Canada. How are you going to communicate with your clients? But anyways, CLB4, hold the equivalent of a Canadian high school diploma. Like, how easy do you have to be? I mean, how easy does it have to get for you to get this, right? Have recent and relevant work experience. You know it and I know it. This work experience is such a big sham when it comes to foreign work experience. I mean, really, is it really difficult to create relevant work experience? It's a joke. But the best one is receive an offer for a full-time home care job. This is where the abuse comes in. This is where families who have children, families who have elderlies, then going out and recruiting their own relatives, brothers, sisters, friends to become caregivers. Obviously, nobody's going to be a caregiver. Nobody's going to do any caregiving job there. But this is how this program has been abused. There are tons and tons of applications which are already in process. And the best thing is, IRCC has very clearly said that it's okay if the person is your relative. So relatives are accepted. So while I know I'm coming out as a person who's really thrashing this program, actually it's in the intent of the program, it's a good program, because caregiving is a requirement, huge requirement in Canada for children as far as the elderly is concerned. Having a family member taking care of your child or for your elderly is also a very, very decent proposition, as long as it is genuine. The problem is that And I know it is because I'm in this business and I see so much of this and I deal with so many people. And I know majority of them, majority is not genuine. And therefore, I know some of you who are watching who probably know what I'm saying will be like either laughing or probably giving out their heartiest cuss words. And it's fine. That's all right. But you know what I'm saying is true. And as much as people try to find loopholes and ways to go around the system, it unfortunately completely screws up and kills the whole integrity of the process, which basically means the future applicants, I wouldn't say generation, I would say future applicants, all face more and more and more issues. However, let's coming back to this one before I get carried away. The enhanced caregiver program, regardless of how I feel about it, and that doesn't matter, as of this time, there is no update as to when this program will be launched. It was anticipated to be launched last year itself, so that it would have started from 1st of this month, 1st of January. That is usually when this program gets launched. It is launched on 1st of January and gets filled up, especially for the caregiver aspect, it gets filled up in matter of hour. The entire quota is filled up for the whole year in a matter of the hour. This program has not been opened, and in my opinion, it's only an opinion, as of September 2024, the inventory list of the permanent residence application in process showed 37,000 applications were in process for the caregivers. 37,000. And this 37,000 is more than next 3 years quotas. So let's say even if your application is in process, don't expect a result anytime soon. It will take 3, 4, 5 years. Each year, more and more and more applications get into process. Now, you would say if the quotas are small, how do they have more applications? Well, they are carrying backlogs for ages, and it just continues. And that is what is scary. There you go. This on your screens is the screenshot that I have from the inventory list of end of September. End of September, I don't know if you can see it on your screens. That number is quite small. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it any bigger there. But it tells you that there are roughly 37,000, 22,000 under the child caregivers and 14,600 under the home support workers. So there are total of roughly 37,000 applications in process, pending. And if you see below that, I have marked out for you the next 3 years immigration targets, which is for 25, 26, 27. It shows 10,920 for this year, 9,920 for 26 and 27. But this targets 10,000, 9,000, 9,000 is a combined target. And this combined target comes for the economic pilot program. So it is not that the target for 2025 for child, so for the enhanced caregiver is 10,000. No, it's a combined target between, and it is shared between caregivers, agri-food community immigration pilots, and economic mobility pathways pilots. So there are 3 different streams who are sharing this target. So the caregiver target is something around 5,500, something of that sort, that number. So if there is 5,500 for 3 years, so it's only 15,000 for 3 years. You have 37,000 applications in process. What do you think is going to happen? I will leave it to your better judgment. In my opinion, at this point of time, they might hold back this program because there is a huge processing queue. They have done it with startup visas. They have done it with parents and grandparents sponsorship program because the processing queue was too long and there are too many applications in backlog. They have held back the applications for 2025. They said they will not accept it anymore. So don't be shocked if it can happen here as well. Of course, IRCC knows better. They can always come out and issue a new directive on it anyways. Of course, they can do it. But this could be one of the reasons why this is being delayed. So yes, it can still be launched anytime this year, maybe first quarter, maybe second quarter. I don't know. Nobody knows. There is no update on this. But the reason why it is being held back, I've showed you on the screens. That could be a possible reason, which more than 4 or 5 years of quotas of applications in the pipeline. Can they really afford to go out and take more applications? That is the thought there. Right, moving on. And we have so much to cover. Reopening of Northwest Territories Nominee Program postponed. As I was just explaining to you, Northwest Territories also had their targets slashed from 300 to only 150. They were going to start a new program, or rather they were going to start or they were going to reopen their programs on 16th of January, and they had already announced that they were going to start their intake. However, they had to then postpone the stream, and they said they can't do it right now because they will have to rethink their entire strategy since their targets have been revised, since their quotas have been cut into half. So keep your eyes open for the Northwest Territories program. Especially these are for the people who are already there, because these are all employer-driven program. Yukon, employer-driven program. Northwest Territories, employer-driven program. So it's your employer who has to apply for this, not you as an applicant. And only once you get the nomination do you apply for it. So be ready, be prepared if you are in these territories. Manitoba has also said that they want more skilled workers. Of course, in 2024, they had 9,450 as the PNP slots. They have asked for additional slots. They said they want to see 12,000 PNP slots for 2025, asking for 26% increase. I doubt it very, very much it's going to happen. I've already showed you what the PNP quotas are like. Manitoba, you guys are dreaming, boy. This is not going to happen. At least it doesn't look like. I will be very shocked if this happens, but the numbers don't suggest. Newfoundland and Labrador immigration policy for film and television professionals. Apparently, they are opening a new stream, identifying this particular occupation as a labor market priority at this point of time. And they are focusing on building a skilled workforce for large-scale productions, which will then complement and train the local talent. Now, whenever they come up with these kind of streams, which are so specific to a niche in the market, don't expect lots and lots of applications. Don't expect too many invitations out there. Of course, it will happen, but it is going to be a small number there. Quebec, of course, reopened their 3 immigration pilot programs to address their labor shortages. This was for the food processing workers, beneficiary attendants, and artificial intelligence and IT and visual effects. Now, you have to have basically either French language proficiency level 7, or you have to be able to accept the franchisation program, where you would have to undergo learning French, learning the local cultural values, etc., and then be tested on this. Most people who are applying under the franchisation because that is easier to get through with the program right now. But take a look on the Quebec website. You will have more information. From my understanding, the IT stream or the STEM stream under the artificial intelligence, IT and visual effects, that got snapped up within like 17-20 minutes of it reopening, which was, I think, on 15th or 16th of January when they reopened. They were like pretty snapped up pretty quickly. And anyways, these streams are open till 31st of December 2025, or until they are completed or filled up. And if you are eligible, if you are one of those guys who has a job offer, of course, job offer is going to be the prime throughout the year with most of the PNP programs. So you will definitely need job offers for almost all PNP streams. Okay. New Brunswick, I was just telling you earlier, they have invited candidates for career opportunities, and of course that this can prospectively lead to PNP pathways. There is a virtual skilled trades event, and this is in February. Please register if you are in a trades category across anywhere across. It's a virtual, and do it. You never know, if you get picked up, you might have an opportunity to apply through New Brunswick PNP. For people who are in Dubai and Doha, well, you guys have an in-person education mission, a healthcare and education mission. That is the recruitment option happening there. 9th and 10th of February in Dubai, and 12th and 13th February in Doha. If you are in a healthcare and education section, I mean, this is great one for teachers, right? I mean, usually teachers don't have an opportunity, don't get a chance, but this is including teachers as well. So if you are one of those individuals, you should be targeting this right now. And then you have a long-term care mission in Philippines, Manila on the 22nd and 23rd of March, and Cebu on the 25th of March. So that's your recruitment missions happening by New Brunswick. I do not know how many quotas they're going to get. I don't think they will have anything more than Newfoundland and Labrador, probably a few hundreds here and there, but pretty brave of them to be doing these events outside Canada when their own quotas are going to get slashed by 50%. I hope they realize that. These are the knock codes. You can take a screenshot if you wish, or you can obviously head over to the website of New Brunswick and you will find this information. As I was saying, healthcare positions and the education positions include elementary and kindergarten teachers and secondary school teachers. That's amazing. So if you guys are teachers and you don't usually find a PNP program, then this one might be for you. Or we do have other news as well. 2025 international student applications have been capped at 550,162. For the year of 2024, this number was 606,250. It has been reduced by 56,000. So these are the number of applications that IRCC will be accepting for the international students throughout 2025. And of course, with the refusal rate of more than 40%, you can expect about 300 some thousand, I keep forgetting that number, 300 some thousand to be actually approved. Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but the actual number of acceptance would be much lower. This appeared on the Canada Gazette, Part 1, Volume 159. I think it came on 15th of January, these numbers. And that's where most of the information usually comes before it becomes public knowledge or becomes part of the public policies. Major changes to family open work permits in Canada starting in January 21. Now, if you did not know about this, then I'm not sure where you are hiding. I have been talking about this subject since early December, and I've been telling this again and again and again that these changes are coming. There was a public policy ending on 30th of January 2025. They have even brought it forward. It is now ending on 21st of January, means if you are a person who is currently in Canada as a worker, then these changes apply to you. If you are an international student and you are going to apply for a postgraduate work permit, these changes apply to you. And the reason why they apply, so a lot of people get confused about extension and whether the application is extension or not. So these changes are coming to you for the open work permits. Let me give you an example. You are an international student in Canada whose study permit is valid until 31st of December 2025. But your studies will continue until April of 2026. But your study permit is expiring. You have a spouse open work permit. Your spouse is in Canada with you. So now when you apply for an extension of your study permit to cover your studies until April of 2026, then your spouse can also apply for extension of their open work permit on the basis of you extending yours, right? So this is same conditions. The conditions are that you are a student in Canada and based on your studies, based on your study permit, your spouse is extending their work permit. No change of conditions. However, if you are a student, okay, and now you're applying for a postgraduate work permit, and on the basis of your postgraduate work permit, your spouse who was earlier on an open work permit based on your study permit application will now be making an application based on your work permit application. This is a change of conditions, and hence this is not an extension. This is a new open work permit application for your spouse. This is a huge confusion that people have. So this is not going to be an extension. This is going to be a new open work permit application. And this impacts all closed work permit holders and open work permit holders, all of you guys out there. Therefore, if you are in any tier category, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doing part-time job or a full-time job, but currently working, then you are still eligible to apply for your spouse's open work permit until 7 p.m. 20th of January, which is Monday, which is day after tomorrow, 7 p.m. And why 7 p.m.? It is because all the immigration applications deadlines are as of the UTC time zone. 7 p.m. Canada or Eastern Standard Time is 12 a.m. UTC time zone. That is where the clock kicks in, and that's when it becomes 21st of January on all your immigration applications. So please bear this. Know this for all immigration applications. Whenever you have a deadline, it's always the UTC time zone. So please, until 20th of January, 7 p.m. rather before that, because sometimes you submit an application, but you don't get your AOR or the confirmation immediately. It takes time. So don't even think 7 p.m. Think 5 p.m. to be on the safe side of things. And before 5 p.m. on 20th of January, you must submit your application if you want to lock the date, lock your application and overcome these changes, because these are going to impact a lot of you out there. After 21st of January, the new changes direct that only those individuals who are currently working in Canada under tier code 0 and 1, they're eligible for spouse open work permits. And tier codes 2 and 3, only specific NOC codes. That list of NOC codes will be announced on 21st of January, and that will include some construction, some natural sciences, some other categories as well. I keep forgetting what those categories are. Do we have it here? No. healthcare, construction. Yeah, those knock codes, we don't know, tier category 2 and 3. What will be those knock codes? They will be announced only on 21st of January, and then you will have it. The bigger requirement here is that your work permit, the principal foreign national in Canada, your work permit should be valid for at least 16 months when you make this application. This also puts a big spanner for those individuals who are currently in Canada on only 1 year open work permit or 1 year work permit. You guys will no longer be eligible to apply for this spouse open work permits. So at the time you make an application, if you are applying for your postgraduate work permit, you should already be working. You have to be working, you have to be employed, you have to provide pay stubs, and then your spouse also, you can apply for spouse's open work permit. Do that before 5 p.m. 20th of January. If you're not working, unfortunately, you're not eligible to apply for your spouse open work permit. Part of the documentation for your spouse's open work permit will be your employment letter with job roles and responsibilities and pay stubs. This is mandatory. If you don't provide, your application has extremely high chances of being refused. Be aware of these changes, know it, prepare it, plan it. My team right now, my office is actually open today. We are working throughout the weekend. We were flooded with the number of applications that came in on Thursdays and Fridays. We are still taking applications for these spouse open work permits even now, and we will continue to work late tonight, tomorrow night, and of course we will start very early on Monday just to take care of all these applications that have been coming through. So for you guys, please note, don't even look at 7 p.m. on Monday. Keep your eyes on 5 p.m. and even sooner if you can. So if you have the documents, why would you even wait till that time, right? But that's your cutoff, that's your deadline. Know it, and then hopefully you can get your applications approved. That was a big change that happened. Okay, 49,676 international students have been reported as no-shows in Canada. I did a video on this. I think I posted it yesterday. Majority of this international. So when we say no-shows, what does it mean? Means they've all got their study permit. They've arrived in Canada, and then they did not go to the college. They did not appear in the universities. So the college and the universities have reported them as non-compliant. Out of these 49,676, 19,582 were Indians, 4,200 Chinese, Nigerians 3,900. Of course, there's a long list of the compliance, but the non-compliance percentage of Indians is only 5.4%. Means about 300,000 international students, only 20,000 were non-compliant. But you might say 20,000 right out of 300,000 is not a bad number. It's only 5.4%. But 20,000 non-compliant students out of 50,000 total non-compliant students is a worrisome number. That is a huge number that comprises of more than 40% of non-compliant total batch of students. So it's a worry, and I am sure IRCC is doing what they need to do. If you are a person who's non-compliant, means you have lost your status. Once you lose your status, then you don't have too many options. Definitely, you don't have a PR pathway because you are inadmissible to Canada once you go into non-compliance, because you're a non-compliance of IRPA, that is inadmissibility already. Then either you will apply for TRP, and the approval chances for TRP will also drastically reduce if you're not able to explain why did you go non-compliant in the first place. And then you probably will have to leave Canada. So it's a big waste of all the money that you would have spent to get to Canada in the first place. I don't know why a lot of them would go non-compliant. Of course, some of them probably never had an intention to study. Of course, a lot of these individuals, I wouldn't say a lot, a few of these individuals are also smuggling themselves off into the United States. And that's where Donald Trump has shown concerns, and that is where Canada is now reinforcing their borders. So expect more people to get caught on the border as well. So that is also another problem that's going to be happening to these people. Other than that, if you're a person who's in Canada, who's non-compliant, if ever there is an RCMP or a CBSA check and you get caught, then also you will be removed from Canada and deported. You would have no option with any of the immigration applications. The only thing that you will finally have to rely on is to get married to a Canadian or a permanent resident. That might not always be the case, might not always happen. So unless you're a destitute student who really had no other option, but you came to Canada with an unscrupulous agenda of working illegally or doing something else, then you are one of these individuals. The US and Canada has quietly agreed to share the personal data on permanent residents crossing the border. Now that is a concern for privacy, but I guess between two countries, if you're traveling, a lot of data is shared anyways. Oh my God, today was a long one, right? Connect with us on social media platforms, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. We are almost everywhere, Twitter, of course. And since you are still here, then hit that subscribe button, get those numbers up. Like, share, subscribe, as they say. And if you wish to book an appointment with us to discuss your applications, then that's the number. At the end of the day, I'm still a CICC licensed immigration consultant. We do have an immigration company. We do offer immigration services. And if you wish to hire us for your immigration application, that is the email address. Drop us an email and we can see what we can do for you. We will take questions, but I need to take a very, very, very short break, and I will and just like that, I'm back now. We thank you for waiting for me. Before I hop on to the question and answers, I will have uh, about 30 minutes, so I will try to do as much as possible. Try to push as many questions as possible, and hopefully we will try and get most of your questions answered. Okay, it says, what is IELTS scam? Can you talk more about it so we are aware? Well, IELTS scam is where people reach out to you on WhatsApp, on your Instagram, or different platforms. They send you a personal message saying, hey, you know what? We have connections with the IELTS officials. We will give you an IELTS report, desired score for this much money. You give your personal details to them. You share your personal information with them. They take a lot of your money. They will send you an IELTS report, which you will think is genuine. Actually, it is not. A lot of people have got into that trap of getting a CLB 9 through this manner. And then when they submit their application to IRCC with those fake IELTS results, they get caught, they're already scammed, and they also get a ban of 5 years for misrepresentation. Happens with IELTS, happens with French exams, happens with CELPIP exams. These are all just photoshopped, right? I mean, Photoshop, a lot of people can do it very easily, and a lot of people fall into this trap. There are some other fake IELTS scams that are also running in different countries, different places, including Canada, where also people are getting caught. These people are tied in with the centers where the examinations are happening. You go and give your biometrics, as in your pictures, etc., etc., and because there is a connection with the center, you don't sit for the examination, but somebody else is going to sit for the examination on your behalf and complete the examination. Therefore, you securing that CLB 9 kind of a score, but actually it's not your score, it's somebody else who sat in the exam for you. Again, more and more and more centers are being identified. More people whose exams are fraudulent are being identified. They're all getting PFLs, they're all getting their exams cancelled, suspended, and from there on, big problems are happening. Of course, 5-year ban. So this is the IELTS scam, or not only IELTS scam, this is the French exam, this is the IELTS exam, this is the CELPIP scam, this is the PT scam. Happens in all places, and I mean, not in all places, but happens in all the language exams. 468, my chances for healthcare draw, I don't know. It all depends on how frequently IRCC conducts the draw, when they conduct the draw, how many people are in the pool. Last draw was at 463, so by that, you should be hopeful. But try and improve your scores if you can. SOWP extension application submitted in October. All required supporting documents submitted. PGBWP holder is tier 4. He's on high wage. How can you be on high wage if you're tier 4? Think about it, right? You tier 4 high wage. I do not know what you mean by high wage over here. So you're asking me for approval chances. Well, if you have submitted a complete application, you should get approved. The whole requirement is that you submit your employment documents, job roles and responsibilities, pay stubs, proof of relationship, proof of marriage, proof of funds. If you have provided all these documents and done a good job of it, then you should have a reasonable chance of an approval. Wife is on ICT closed work permit in tier 1 job, and I have spouse open work permit. Our extension is due in March. With new changes, will it impact my spouse open work permit application? No, it will not, because the principal foreign national is on tier 1 job, and tier 0 and 1 are included as eligible occupations. Hence, it will not be a problem for you. I just spoke about the idle scam. Study permit ATIP note request processing time. Well, usually takes about 30 days, but can vary depending on the processing office's backlog queues. So yeah, that is the time. Can I work simultaneously in Canada and foreign for experience? A remote job in foreign and person will count as experience. Technically, yes, but it becomes very complex in presenting it. IRCC, and I know where this is coming from. There is this one tweet from Stephen Murrens that has completely brought this subject to a blast, and everybody's thinking, oh, they can suddenly game the system. Well, it is not working like that. First of all, the treatment of this is extremely complex. So if you're asking me the question, can you do it? Yes, you can do it. Can you treat it? It's very difficult to treat it an express entry, because express entry was never designed for remote jobs. So whenever you show foreign work experience, but you show yourself in Canada, it treats you as a Canadian experience. If you show that you are outside Canada, then you have a conflict. In one job, you're saying at same period of time you are in Canada, and the other you're out. It creates a conflict. Further than that, there are ministerial instructions that govern express entry. The ministerial instructions that govern express entry are very clear, and they define what is outside work experience, what is inside Canada work experience, what is Canadian experience, what is foreign work experience. Further than that, it defines what is work in access. And it says that if you work for a period of time, more than 30 hours per week, then they will only consider one occupation and one job. So if you're doing multiple, you're trying to double dip the system. While somebody might get away with it with an explanation, and I personally disagree with whatever that tweet was that has been floating, because the law doesn't allow for it. But it's your call, it's your choice. If you wish to do it, it's up to you. No question, no question. Can food processing QC be on the list that is going to come on 21st? Well, I don't know. And if you're going to ask me what is going to come, if I knew, trust me, I don't hold back. I will splash it all over the social media the minute I come to know of something that is going to be of some benefit to somebody out there. So I have no idea what kind of knock codes are going to come out. We will have to wait until 21st to know those knock codes. Any chance of ITA? Well, I do not know of any kind of draws, when they will happen, when they will not happen. Please stay tuned to IRCC's updates as and when the draws happen. I submitted PGWP yesterday, but did not receive work permit extension letter. Can I work today? Yes, you can. Work permit extension usually comes from 48 to 72 hours period, and you don't have to wait for the work permit EXT letter or work permit authorization letter. The minute you submit your postgraduate work permit, you are authorized to work. With 2 years of skilled trade experience and a work permit expiring soon, what are the chances of a low CRS draw under OIMP skilled trade? I don't know, because as I said, I'm going to keep saying this again and again. And for all those people who are asking for chances, I don't know about any chances, because it depends entirely on IRCC, on the province, how many knock codes, how many invitations, how many people in the pool. These are all variables to which nobody has any information. So as much as I would like to tell you what the chances are, all I will say is, say forever hopeful. Try and improve your scores if you can, and then keep watching the province's updates. Any chances of foreign skill general draw in OINP? Well, again, chances. As much as you guys would think that I know everything, I don't. I wish I knew. If I knew, my God, what all would I do with that? But I don't. And as far as chances are concerned, the latest PNP quotas that have been slashed, that suggest that a lot of chances might not happen, only for the reason because now the provinces will be watchful as to what draws they conduct, how many invitations they issue, how frequent they conduct. So as far as chances are concerned, that is where it will fall. PGWP expires May 2024. LMIA application will be done February. Can I work on implied status? The law says If you have a valid work permit and you make another work permit application while the valid work permit is still valid, then you go on an implied status and you can continue working until the decision is made. So that applies to you as well. If you are in an implied status, then you can continue working until the decision is made. Received my both portal email, just feeling happy. I wish you all the very best. Congratulations, heartiest congratulations. I know recently, because of all the delays that have been happening, so many people are really frustrated and annoyed with the process, but it's always worth the wait and patience. So congratulations. Education physically in Canada, but class online post September. EE portal reduce points for in-person. IRCC never stated anything about EE, only PGWP. Well, what you can do is you can still claim the points and then add a letter of explanation explaining the situation and highlighting IRCC's website on that specific matter. I applied for visitor visa for my wife, not approved yet, but she has gotten admission for masters. Should I wait for approval or can I add study permit? Oh, well, you can always add a study permit. That is never a problem. You can also withdraw the visitor visa if you wish to while the study permit is being processed. So yeah, absolutely. If your question is, can you make 2 applications? Yes, you can. 527 for CEC, any chance? Well, I hope it happens and I hope it happens soon. But again, I have no idea what the chances are in terms of when that will happen and how that will happen. The sooner, the better. It all depends on IRCC issuing the number of invitations and the number of people in the pool. Sorry, Paritosh says, got promoted as store manager from assistant manager. Will it give me some extra points for CRS? Unfortunately not. NOC tier category 0, 1, 2, 3. All of them are eligible in express entry and all of them carry the same points. There is no difference. From experience of applications, which month's files are being picked right now for CEC? Applied in October, no update after bio and med. I am sorry, but I don't have that information for you. And if you wish, there are lots and lots of websites on the internet that offer tracking, and basically it works like a community. People update their data, and therefore you're able to make information on that. I don't follow these data because it doesn't help me for my own sanity and peace of mind. And at the end of the day, we have realized that a lot of applications that are being processed, they are taking a bit longer. Also because IRCC has chosen in 2025 to reduce the number of IRCC staff, and it makes sense depending on how different application streams are being cut. Therefore, if there are going to be less number of staff, the processing times are going to go slightly high. So, and if you already have your biometrics and medicals, which you are saying you do, then know that the average processing time is 6 months. And if it is 6 months, then there's no point of stressing out as to what is happening with other people and what is going on with them, because your application will be assigned to a visa office, and in that visa office it will be assigned to a visa officer and the program assistant or the program analyst, and the processing time of your application depends on the processing queue of the individual analyst, individual officer in the individual visa office. So you see, having that information as a standard does not give you that information at all, because somebody's visa office being Vancouver, somebody being Montreal, somebody being New Delhi, somebody being New York, somebody being Yukon, Whitehorse. So how would you know what application, where is individual applications? So therefore, don't stress about it. Hopefully yours should get through as well. 6 months is the average processing time, and that's what you should be looking at. What do you think? Will the CRS score go down by 5-10 by March or April? I don't know, Sukhveer, and I keep telling all these people who are asking me for different chances and scores, I don't know. There is no way to say when the scores will come down. A lot of it, what we do is speculation based on what we read, what we come to know of, but that does not establish whether we know when the scores are going to be hitting a specific number. At this point of time, 5-10 by March or April looks very difficult. And the reason it looks difficult is because it's our understanding that for January and February, the number of ITAs is going to be less or low. And if it is going to be low number of ITAs, then 5-10 to hit anytime soon looks a bit difficult. Look at the pool breakdown. It's looking scary anyways. So at the end of the day, it all depends on the number of ITAs. How many invitations will be issued, how frequently the draws are conducted, and what are the number of invitations per draw. Spouse open work permit change affect the people who have provincial nomination. Can we apply LMIA exempt work permit and spouse open work permit together? Spouse is on a visitor visa, work permit expired. If you are applying because, so when you say you are who have provincial nomination, so I do not know which application you're going to be applying for, and if you are applying for permanent residence, then it does not matter, because IRCC is already very clarified that if you're applying for permanent residence, then these tier codes or these changes do not impact. PNP/effect on PR if filed after nomination. There is no impact if you filed after nomination. Nomination has already taken into account the quotas. 373 CRS, 2 years of skilled experience. What are the chances of OINP ITA? What are the other options? I have already told everybody, if you keep asking me for the chances, the answer is going to be the same. I don't know. It all depends on Ontario. It all depends on IRCC. It all depends on provinces, how many invitations, how frequently, the number of people, etc., etc. I got a PFL from Alberta. The officer says my job is in tier 4, yet I applied as tier 1 because some duties on the job offer are what I was doing in tier 1. Now, how do I convince the officer that I fall in tier 1, not by 4? Well, that's pretty tricky. Tier 1 to tier 4 is a huge difference. Just because you feel that you have been performing some duties of tier 1 does not make you a tier 1. It has to be seen in its complete, you have to see it in its entirety. You have to see all the job description, the complete job description. You have to see the major duties. You have to see the lead statement. Where does it say where you are working, not working? What kind of role? Tier 1 roles are all going to be senior roles. Are you actually performing a senior role, or actually you're performing a junior role? Just because you have done few duties of tier 1 does not put you in a tier 1 category. And how you can prove it? The only way to prove it, and actually it might be a tier 1, maybe the Alberta officer has got it wrong. And the only way you can do it is by employment letter, employment reference letter from your employer, along with the job description and emphasis on why you are tier 1. That is the only way you will be able to establish this, through the letter from your employer. Is it okay to list my work experience as separate roles in my PR application, though I use title software developer in my study permit application, or will this raise concern? I don't understand your question. If you use the title, whatever you use the title, it doesn't matter. What matters is your job description. If the company is the same and the title is a little bit variable, then it should still be all right. Already applied bridge open work permit with just AOR. Do I need to raise web form for uploading OINP PNP certificate? Absolutely. If you're a nominee, if you're a PNP applicant, you have to upload your nomination certificate along with the AOR. It's a requirement. It's a mandatory document. Oh, so yes, please upload it using the web form. Hopefully it gets approved. I was temporarily laid off twice for 2 weeks each by my company. Should I exclude these 4 weeks while calculating my 1 year of experience? Absolutely. It's why is it even a question? If you're not working, you can't claim that as work experience. I have 6 months of tier 2 and I did post-graduation diploma for 2 years in Canada. I have already applied OINP. What else should I do? I don't know. I have no idea about your profile. Just by giving me the 6 months of experience, and I can't tell you. You will have to see different PNPs. You'll have to see what your express entry score is. You'll have to see where you stand with regards to your employer supporting you or not supporting you. Check the different PNP options. Check your express entry scores. Check if you can still complete your 6 months of work experience in any priority occupation and go in that direction. Can I go to different provinces for IELTS exams? Yes, you can. My Saskatchewan application is in process. Is it affected due to IRCC PNP quota reduction? Not really, because it could be as well. But Saskatchewan has always known to take, 1 year is quite common with Saskatchewan. So, I'm not sure how they are calculating their PNP quotas and how they are assigning their limits to their different applications. But if they're going to be issuing nominations in 25-26, then yes, the quotas will be impacting. My common law is on implied status with tier 2 retail job LMIA pending since May. Should I apply for SOWP before Jan 21? Well, if you wish to apply for spouse open work permit on the basis that your common law partner is working or is on implied status, then yes, you should apply before 21st of June. After that, if you wish to apply after that, you'll have to take care of 16 months of work permit validity and employment in eligible knock code, which is tier 01. And some knock codes in tier 2 and 3. PR submitted but missed mentioning the flagpole. Should the web form be raised? If not, is there a possibility of the file being rejected? Possibility of the file being rejected, yes, because flagpole should be mentioned, must be mentioned under your statutory question. And if you did not do it earlier, please raise a web form and let them know. It will be in your favor. Can I change my closed work permit to a study permit to pursue my master's? Yes, you can apply for a study permit. Once it is approved, you can start studying. No problem there. Thank you. My OINP is approved. Anger International Stiffet stream. Under international student stream, I will soon apply for non-express entry draw. Will the slash impact my PR approval? No, it will not, because you already have the nomination. Once you have the nomination, you are already accounted towards the quota. There is little confusion with PP express entry for New Brunswick. I don't know what you mean by PP. Can we add 6 months plus 6 months experience to be eligible from 2 different jobs? Might not be. It will entirely depend on the officer. It's always best in such specific question about a specific stream of the province to reach out to the province and check with them directly. How come people get more band? They deserve 5, but it becomes 9 band without an issue and getting PR. That also scam. How will they catch these people? Well, I am not the one who is validating the scores. If they have a genuine IELTS scores, then I guess they can prove it. If it's a fake and fraudulent document, then it is IRCC's responsibility to identify and then ban these people. With BNP quota splash, what is the impact on individuals who already received NOIs from Ontario? Well, their applications are in process. As I was saying earlier, they are being processed, they are in assessment, they are in dip stage. And if they're already in process and dip stage, hopefully they will get approved and they will all account towards their current PNP quotas or targets. Guys, please don't do any super chats. I will not be able to complete, and then, yeah, it would not be nice to leave you guys without that question answered. So please don't do any super chats. 2 profiles for OINP, as I have 2 job categories, one inventory, another supervisor and retail store, fulfilling 2 different knock codes, both to be tier 2. So what is the question? If your question is, can I make 2 profiles? Well, you can. Not in the same stream, you can do it in different streams. Following up my previous question, by high wage, I meant the salary comes under high wage against hourly wage of Ontario, but it seems to be tier 4 role based on mentioned roles and responsibilities. I honestly don't remember your earlier question, Ahmad, now, because we're going so quickly here. And while I'm looking for your earlier question, I am just... Okay, so your application was already submitted. If the application is already submitted, it makes no difference at all, because tier 4, tier 5 was allowed, and therefore it doesn't matter at all. So yeah, in your case, it doesn't matter if it was high wage or low wage. It doesn't matter part-time or full-time. It doesn't matter tier 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If your spouse was working and getting a salary and you provided job roles and responsibilities, then you would be eligible for the work permit. And hopefully it gets approved. Arvind says, I'm on maintained status right now. In March, I have a visit to India due to family function. TRV valid till 2032. What I need to re-enter Canada in April? Well, you need your passport and your visa. And if you have that valid until 2032, then you can re-enter Canada as a visitor, and that's absolutely fine. Okay, where did we go with this one? Why can't I see the question? I can see it. Currently working as an ECE, PGWP expiring in 2 months, will apply for closed work permit, LMI exam. Should I apply spouse open work permit extension now or wait until I submit my application? If you apply now, you can't apply now. And the reason for that is because your work permit is expiring in 2 months. If you will be applying for a closed work permit, then apply for your closed work permit now, along with your spouse's open work permit, if you want to be eligible for your spouse's open work permit. So apply for your closed work permit now. Along with that, apply for spouse's open work permit, and then you will still be eligible if you do it now. When I'm saying now, I mean before 21st of January. I came after 12th grade, having 2 years experience in Canada. What will you suggest for PR? Applied for PR, but having only 412 points. Learn French? Yes, absolutely. Learn French. Look at the PNP options. Find an employer who can support your application for PNP. Get work experience in a category occupation, and improve your English language skills score so that your score can be higher, where you can still be eligible. I have 2 years, 10 months of experience in India. Can I round it to 3 years? No, you cannot round it to 3 years. If it is 2 years and 10 months, then it is 2 years and 10 months. It is not 3 years. There is no way, or there is no provision to round it up Yeah, unfortunately, you can't. Do I need proof of funds if I want to apply through express entry after getting 600 points from SINP student stream? I meet CEC. First of all, SINP student stream is not express entry stream. It is not related to express entry. So first check on that. But if you are applying through Canadian Experience class, you don't need proof of funds in express entry. But please check the stream in Saskatchewan if it is linked to express entry. I don't think it is. Nothing here. LMIA will apply in next 2 months. Can I apply spouse open work permit before LMIA gets approved to avoid new rules, and I will add during process? You can apply, yes. It may not get approved because the LMIA and you haven't even applied for the LMIA. So how will you apply for it? So think about it. In order to apply for your closed work permit, your LMIA should already be in progress. And even then, when IRCC realizes that your LMIA has not been approved, they are refusing your application. So for you, it's going to be futile, to be very honest, because you haven't even applied for the LMIA yet. So, I mean, as much as you might want to do this, my professional advice would be to not, because it would be waste of your money and your time. With PGWP expiring soon, I'm waiting LMIA closed work permit and PNP approval. Spouse open work permit is better for spouse to go along with my application. If you're eligible for open work permit, apply for open work permit. If you're not eligible for open work permit, then apply for a visitor record. More importantly, your spouse. Is your spouse working? Does your spouse want to work? And if they want to work, then of course you apply for an open work permit. If they don't wish to work, then you apply for a visitor record. That's how you go for it. Okay. Why can't I see this question? Eric says, if principal open work permit and spouse open work permit are still valid, can principal submit spouse open work permit extension? On what basis? So I don't understand. If the principal open work permit is still valid and you want to apply for spouse's open work permit, so technically, yes, you can apply if there is an eligibility there. So that is something possible. But what is the basis of you applying? So if your open work permit's validity is, let's say, until December of 2026, next year, but your spouse's open work permit is valid only for the next few months, can you apply? Absolutely, you can apply. Go ahead and apply for it. But if you're both expiring, the work permits are expiring pretty close to each other, then it won't matter. So if you're asking, can you apply? Then yes, you can. Yeah, and you can apply together if you have to, if there is an eligibility for you to apply for one. Principal applicant is architect in India. However, in Canada, to become architect, one license is required. Can we consider tier 1 for application for spouse open work permit extension? No. This work permit is to do, sorry, this work experience has to do with Canada. So whoever is the spouse in Canada, that person's work experience has to be under tier 0 or 1. What is the work experience for the person outside does not matter. What is your past work experience in India doesn't matter. What is your current work experience in Canada? That is what matters, and that is what will decide your eligibility for the open work permit. Guys, please don't do super chat because I can only do 2 more questions. You guys are not listening to me. You are continuing to do your super chats, and unfortunately, I will have to leave some of you guys without the answer. Indian citizen currently on work permit. Which country's PCC I need? Canada or India, and when should I apply? Well, apply for it whenever you have to apply, in the sense like it will take 2 months to apply for an Indian PCC or to get one Indian PCC. Canadian PCC is not required upfront, so please check your eligibility requirement to see any country where you have lived for 6 months or more in a row within the last 10 years. That is what you need for your PCC. My PR application had finals decision a day ago, but changed back to medical, updated next day. Any idea what's going on? No, absolutely. I have no idea what's going on because I will have to go through the entire application to see what's happening. In many cases, sometimes when they make a final decision and change it, that is also because they are identifying some aspects of your background check, which they may have earlier skipped, or they are reviewing the eligibility requirement, or they are reviewing the expiry dates that they have given to you. So if your earlier expiry date was shorter, but then they are reviewing your medicals to give you a longer expiry date, that is also one of the reasons why this happens. Do you think there will be a trade draw this month? I have absolutely no idea which draw will happen when and what will be the scores, whether the CRS score will be higher, lower. Absolutely no way of knowing this at all. 467, waiting for the trade draw. Do you think these points are enough? Again, as I said, I have no way of saying what scores are enough for what draw. Last trade draw was at 437. Going by that, 467 should be good, but you will have to try and keep yourself updated and keep your scores as high as possible. Applied for CEC from inside Canada, rejected as per these GCMS notes due to damaged, unable to view education documents, though used for study work. Now outside Canada, reapply or judicial review. Well, if your documentation really were in an ineligible condition, then it was your fault. Whether you used it before or not doesn't matter. For your PR application, if you submitted a file which is ineligible, or I keep saying illegible, okay, you can't read it, then it's your fault, and going for judicial review might not give you the benefit. 539 is a good score, hopefully next draw itself. So reapply, probably that's a better way to go about it. Graduated from Lakehead and plan to apply under ONP master streams. Do I need to have full-time job offer or do I need to show funds? If you're applying under the OINP master stream, having a job offer is not a required. And if you don't have a job or if you're not working, then you will have to show proof of funds, and that is what you will need to show. Yes. So yeah, it's either of the two. Either you're working and have a job offer, because you'll have to show pay stubs as well, or you show proof of funds. Either of the two, but you will need to show proof of funds in this case. AIP PNP was rejected due to the 2-year continuity requirement, though my company started in Calgary in September 23. Colleagues who applied with me on May were approved, only I got rejection. Raise a review request, raise an email, send them an email, send them the documentation, send them an explanation, and request them to reconsider the decision. Last question. Applied for 2 OINP stream and FSW in EE, new SOPW. Applied for 2 OINP stream and FSW. I have no idea what we are trying to say here. New SOWP rules will be applied for PR application, will apply for CE soon. So again, I'm not able to understand your question at all, honestly speaking. If you have applied for permanent residence and you're applying for bridge open work permit, in that case, you may not be impacted by the new rules. All other conditions of applying for an open work permit or spouse open work permit based on your work permit, those will be impacted based on the new rules. Right, guys, thank you so much for joining in. I really appreciate it. You guys are really kind. And yeah, thank you so much. And we shall do this again next week. Until then, stay forever hopeful, and I shall see you soon again.